Thanks so much for joining us today. We would love to know how God is using this ministry to touch your life. Please take a moment to send your story to marathonchurch.org/mystory. Also, if you would like to support this ministry financially, you can do so by visiting marathonchurch.org and choosing the giving option that works best for you. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope you enjoy today's message.
Good morning. That's better. We'll wake you guys up. You stay up too late watching football? Yes, you did. But you made it to church. Super Christians out there. Way to go. That's funny. You can laugh today. You can laugh in church. Is that okay? Everybody just go, ha, ha, ha. Oh, my gosh. One more time. That's hilarious over there. I remember when I grew up, we had these things called laughing boxes. And we'd be riding in the bus at school, and somebody'd sneak one on, and they'd pull the string, and they'd just start laughing. And you could hear everybody, you couldn't help but laugh. If you didn't laugh, you had a problem. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I'm just trying to say that I'm glad to be here today. And I'm thankful for what God's doing at Marathon. I'm thankful some of your teams won yesterday. Yes. Be thankful for that. That's a blessing. But what I want to talk about today is faithfulness. Okay? Faithfulness. What does that mean? What does that look like? In Revelations 2:10, we go way out to Revelations here. It says, "Be thou faithful unto death, then I will give you a crown of life." I believe faithfulness was meant to last our entire lives. It's not just something that every now and then we decide to be faithful. It's something that we are meant to do. We are required to do. It's important to us. And sometimes I don't know if we really understand the importance of faithfulness. We kind of just put it under the rug. We don't think about it unless it serves our purpose. For me, faithfulness is really just keeping your commitments. You know, just keeping your commitments that you make. And I think we keep doing something over and over, committing to something over and over until it's not exciting anymore, and then we stop. Or we're committed to doing it over and over, and we keep doing it over and over until we're not seeing the result we want. Right? Then we give up. Or we just keep on doing it and it just becomes just tiring. I'm just tired of doing the same old thing. I don't see why I'm faithful to this. And we give up. I think we should learn how to be faithful. And today we're going to talk about what God says about being faithful. How important it is in your life that you understand faithfulness is the key pretty much to everything that you're doing right now. I'll give you an example. I'm trying to teach my kids faithfulness, okay? Integrity, character. Aren't you trying to do that, parents? I hope you are. If you're not, I'm sorry. But I try to find ways I can teach them, how to learn. Life is hard, life is tough. It's going to be interesting when you get out of school and mommy's not there to wash your clothes. Okay? So how can I teach them this lesson? Well, I thought sports was good for me. It taught me how to be disciplined, how to practice, how to be on time, because you're not on time, you're going to get in trouble. How to have a character and integrity. So I said, Cassidy, my oldest, I have two daughters. Cassidy's 15 and Lily's 8. They're perfect children. That is where you laugh, because they're not. But I wanted them to, are they all in here, by the way? Is she in here? Oh, Lord. This is coming, baby. So I want, find something they can dial into, something that will teach them character. Well, Cassidy started playing golf last year. Now, if you've ever played golf, you know it's very difficult to do, right? It's very frustrating. It's very intimidating. It's dangerous. You can break something. And I've seen that happen. But Cassie started. She's doing okay. And then this year, she started again. And she seems to be getting better. And then one day, she hit a drive down the fairway, and it rolled and went behind a tree. Okay? Good and bad kind of thing, you know. Well, she had to decide how she was going to hit this. Am I going to hit it in the fairway, or I'm going to try to go through the tree? Well, she goes through the tree, or tries. It hits the tree, bounces back, hits her in the belly, right here. Put a bruise the size of a peach on her belly right here. And I'm thinking, that's it, we're done. She's going to be, I'm not doing this anymore. She had her excuse. I've been hurt, and I'm done. Well, I talked to her about it yesterday, and she says, Daddy, I just laughed that off. I'm like, really? She said, yeah, it was just funny. If it hit her in the head, it wouldn't have been. But I was so impressed. And she kept going, and she kept practicing, and she pushed through. And it's difficult, I'm telling you, it's difficult and intimidating. Life is that way, is it not? A new job, a new relationship. Life is intimidating. It's hard, and sometimes we just run away from that when we should push through. And that's what I was so proud of her for doing. She pushed through the hurt. She pushed through the difficulty. And last week, one of her first tournaments, she scored one of her lowest scores ever. And I was so happy for you. We're going to clap for you, Cassidy. Yeah. But I say this because being committed and being faithful has its rewards. The Bible teaches us that. When you're faithful and you're committed and you see things through, there's a reward. Sometimes we forget. We might have a reward around the corner and we just quit if we just stick with it. I want to read a definition to you. Well, actually, I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to go straight to the definition. The Hebrew definition of faithfulness is this: stick to. I'll say it again. The Hebrew definition of faithfulness is to stick to, not give up. Now, some of you in here today, you've probably already given up. You came here today, this is your last chance. I'm going to give church. Because quite frankly, I can't stand church. You've given up. You've given up on something, your job, your family. But I'm here to encourage you this morning. Because God encouraged me last week, this very thing. God wants me to tell you this morning to stick with it. Don't throw in the towel and quit. Stick with it. Because if you're faithful and you hang in there and you stick with it, a reward is coming like you've never seen before. Faithfulness brings the favor of God like I've never seen in my life. You might not think it ever will happen, and you keep doing it and you keep going. I found this out last week in my life. I've been in ministry 20 years, and I know faithfulness works, but there's times when I don't understand when things aren't working the way I think they should. Okay? When Marathon Church struggles, and we struggled financially recently, and I'm like, God, why? Because we're seeing all these great things happen. I'm being pretty transparent with you this morning. Is that okay? Because, hey, we're family. And the whole mission of this church is to reach people and to help people. That will not change. It's not to give me a job. It's not. Not to give Eddie a job. We do this because we love what God's called us to do. We do it for nothing. Well, I say this. When I get to that point where, God, I don't know what you're doing, and here comes a holiday weekend, God, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And God blesses Marathon, boom, like that, financially. We had an awesome week last week. And I say that because I don't want to take credit for anything other than I'm going to stick and be faithful to what God is doing in my life. And I'm challenging you to do that too today. Be faithful. A reward is coming. Now, I'm going to give you an example I think will help you kind of relate this to your life. I'm going to show you. I bet you're wondering what's behind here, right? Dun, 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 dun. It's nothing special. Can y'all see that? What is that? Y'all can talk to me. We're like in the living room right now. It's a picture. It's a puzzle. Yeah, that's a puzzle. 3,000 pieces. Who loves to work puzzles? Yeah. Vacation usually. So most people work puzzles. But I grew up since I was 7 years old working puzzles. I loved them. I'd stay in my room all day and work puzzles. I just loved them. I don't know why. I just did. The challenge, I guess. Well, I put this puzzle together when I was about 23, 24 years old, not too long ago, just a few years. I look good for my age. And so we started putting this puzzle together, and the reason I bought the puzzle is because of the picture, right? When you buy a puzzle, don't you usually buy it for the picture? You don't just go and throw it, you don't look at it and hope when you get home, then you turn it over and hope what you got. You look at the picture, right? We can't wait to see that picture become a reality. To me, that's a lot like life. You have a picture of your life that you see, that you can't wait for that picture to be complete. God has given you a vision, a dream, a goal, something that you see. It's a picture of your life. Okay? For me, I remember the picture of Marathon Church 20 plus years ago. Wow, it's hard to believe. I was 18 then. Sorry, let's just keep doing that. I'm lying now, sorry. But I remember thinking, man, this is going to be great. We're going to start a church. Here's what we got to do. We get coffee. We get donuts. We have a band. We put some lights up, and we have a blast. And that's what we did. And it was amazing. That picture that I saw, that me and Eddie and Brendan Lennon saw, of reaching 1,000 people, we saw that in the future. We can reach thousands of people for Christ. We can see salvations. We can see lives transformed. And we've seen that happening. It was a puzzle. It was a picture that we put together. But what we saw was, we saw all this stuff. We all saw the shiny stuff. We all saw the fun stuff. But you see, I won't get ahead of myself. There's a lot more to the picture than just the fun stuff. Now, some of you, you may be starting a ministry or a business, or you might just want to lose a few pounds. Is that right? Anybody want to lose a few pounds? 30 pounds, 50 pounds? Yes, we all want to look good, right? When you have a picture of what that may look like, you might have this skinny picture on the wall and say, that's what I want to look like by tomorrow. So you wake up in the morning and you go, oh man, that's not it at all. It's because to build this picture, you're going to have to take time. You have to do the right things. You're going to have to be committed to it. You're going to have to eat right, exercise. Oh my goodness. Why, God, can't you just snap your finger and make me skinny? Now, some of you guys work out. I don't see Robert here today, but some of you guys work out. And I see you walk in and you're like, what's up, Bryan? You're like, get saved. Come on. If I had muscles, that's what I'd do. I'd be like, come on. Would y'all listen more if I had muscles? Would it turn you off? I'd be like, get your Bibles out. Look at the screens right there. I'm losing it. I'm so sorry. I'm just having fun today. I'm so excited about telling you what God's going to do. I really am. So, What I love about those guys, they stick with it. They stick it out. They keep on. They work out. They eat right. And they're just, and they're proud of it. I just couldn't do that. One of the reasons I can't do it, I believe, is because it hurts. You know what I'm saying? If it hurts, I'm not doing it. I get it, but I'm not doing it. Maybe I should. I'm just lazy. I don't know. But I admire them for that. They stick with it. I want you to say this with me. I'm going to learn to stick it out. We need to learn to stick it out. We need to learn to stick. Learn to be faithful. Learn to be committed. We need to learn that again in the Christian community. Oh my goodness. We run from one thing to the next. No wonder the world thinks we're crazy. We have no foundation. We have no integrity. Sorry. That's the way we're seen. Next part of the picture. What do you see mostly in this picture? Gold, black. You see how much black's in that? How dark that is? So here's what happened when we started working the puzzle. Brenda, my wife, and my mother, they started working the puzzle. Well, it's all fun at first because they start working these parts. Start working the lines, and they start working the shiny stuff, and they work all this, and, you know, and then next thing I know, they're gone. And they left me with this, all the black. So, do you see all that? I'm thinking, I'm not sure I really want to do this. I'm just thinking, we just put it back in the box and be done. But I'm not a quitter. I can't. I've got to finish this thing. I'm determined. Whatever it takes, I'm going to be committed to finishing this picture. I'm going to stick it out. So every day after school, come in, put a piece in. I'd try and I'd walk away. Come back again the next day, put another piece in. Okay, I'll admit, it took me about a month. One piece at a time. It was so miserable. Same old thing over and over and over again. See, life without the dark, there can't be light and shiny. Everybody in here will deal with the dark side of life. You will hurt. You will cry. But you stick with it. You be faithful and stick with the picture that God has said, I have for you. Because, see, the dark makes the picture beautiful. Because if you don't see it, if you don't have this, you can't see this. The dark makes you who you are. You know, I know people that have come a long way from lives that are just wrecked, but they'll tell you they're glad for it because I'm better for it. I'm the man God wanted me to be because I learned the hard way. We try to help our kids not learn the hard way, but unfortunately, darks are going to be in our lives. It's part of our lives. So what I did, I got finished with this puzzle, and I said, I'm going to glue this thing. I'm going to frame it because I'm never working it again. And that's what I did. And I've had this thing basically in the closet for 20 years. But I'm proud of it. I get to use it today. But God has a plan, has a picture that He's given you, a goal. And I think today the challenge would be, don't give up. Don't give up. Stick with it. God's favor is around the corner for you. Commit to it. I want to read a verse to you. I love this verse. It really pretty much for me help me understand God just a little more. Because years ago, being a fairly new Christian, and I thought God was something else. I used to go to work at Hartnest International. Some of you still work there. And wait a minute, let me read the verse before I tell that story. I think that'll help. Let me read the verse. Luke 16:10. He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. And he who is dishonest and unjust is a very little thing, and a very little thing is dishonest and unjust also in much. The test of the little things is what I'm talking about. For me, I had to go through that test, and you are too, every day. Back in the day, before Marathon, before I was in ministry, God had to do some work in my heart. He still does every day, but I used to go to work. I had my scripture verse in my toolbox for everybody to see. I could wear my Christian t-shirt with God's holy gem on it, whatever. And I thought that was what Christianity was. Let me show you what God's all about with my t-shirt, my wrist bracelet, and I'll throw my Bible at you every now and then when you come in the door. I hope I'm not offending you. I'm sorry. Those things are great. But for me, I missed it. And God said, Bryan, those things are wonderful, but I need you to pay attention to something. And I call it the test of the little things for me. And here's what happened to me in those days. We had a bolt bin where you put bolts in, and you had like different sizes and everything in the workshop. And you take those bolts out and you go build your machine. Because I built case packers. That's what I built. So I'd walk over, I'd get my bolt, and one of them fall out, and I'd just walk back over. Okay? So everybody's doing that in the shop. Everybody's walking over, grabbing a bolt, and then when they do, accidentally one drops on the floor. And that kept happening. Till by the end of the day, you got like 15, 20 bolts laying on the floor. Nobody's going to pick it up, right? That's not my fault it's on the floor. And God said to me, he said, Bryan, pick the bolt up. I said, why? Because I'm telling you, pick the bolt up. I said, okay, I'll pick the bolt up. So I picked one bolt up, put it back in, and walked off. All right, I did it. I passed the test, right? God said, no, pick all of them up. So it took me a little while to understand what God was trying to teach me. You see, character and integrity are not always seen because I'm not working for men, I'm working for God. God said, be faithful to me, Bryan. I'm asking you to pick the bolts up. So finally, after a few weeks, I started understanding I need to pick the bolts up and put them back in the bin. So every time I went over, I'd pick the bolts up and put back in the bin. That was my job. Nobody knew it. Nobody cared. I didn't get an attaboy on the back. But God taught me something. The little things mean way more than the big things. If you want to serve me, if you want to be on my time, Bryan, on my plan for your life, you better understand it's my way. And my way is the best way for you. Second test. I thought I'd learned that very well. I've done better, okay? I've done better. I may go to Walmart, Target. Walmart, yay! Yeah, do the wave. But I went there the other day, and when you think you've learned something, God brings it back up because you haven't. Okay, so I'm at the parking lot at Walmart, and I'm sitting in the car, getting ready to get out, and I noticed the buggy was in the parking lot, like many of them are. They're all over the parking lot because nobody takes them back, right? Nobody takes them to the little holder. What do you call that thing? Where you put the buggies, okay? And so I'm sitting there looking at it, and I could just hear that little voice saying, go take that cart and put it in the place it needs to go. I'm sitting there thinking, really? That's way over there. It's not my fault that some other person had no character or integrity and didn't put it back. That's what's wrong with this world, right? It's everybody else, not me. God said, I said, okay. So about that time, I started to get out of the car. It started raining. I said, I'll just wait a minute. And then the wind started blowing. And that little cart just started rolling down the thing. And I'm going, wow. And it just kept on going, bang, right into a car. And I said, I'm not getting it now, God. I am not touching that thing. And he said, well, if you'd have done what I said the first time, you could have avoided that. The little things in your life that matter so much, that teach you character, that teach you integrity, the test of the little things. It's very important that we understand that. All right, I want to also tell you a little story before we end about faithfulness. It's in the Bible. It's a story about Ruth. Some of you read the story about Ruth. And it's a great story. And I'll just set it up for you, then we're going to read it. Ruth, her husband, her father-in-law, and her brother-in-law were all killed in battle. And that's a very dark part of the picture. Very dark. And her mother-in-law, Naomi, said, you girls, her daughter-in-laws, y'all can go back home, okay, because I have nothing for you. And see, Naomi, she was a believer. She believed in God, which I thought was interesting. And Ruth did not. Ruth was not from her land. She didn't believe in God at all. But she told her daughter, said, y'all can go back to your land. I have no more sons. I have no more money. There's nothing I can do for you. You need to just go back to your land, okay? Well, one daughter-in-law said, fine, I'm gone. I'm going back to my land. Well, Ruth said, no, I will not leave you, Naomi. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people. Your God shall be my God. I'm going to stick to you. I'm going to be faithful to you because I know you need me now. How many people would give up their lives and their security to be faithful to someone? You know, I think that's so awesome. See, when we are faithful and we're committed, it's not just us that benefit. It's not that you that gets the benefit. There's a world that needs to see you faithful, needs to see your integrity, needs to see your character. You are the walking billboard of Jesus Christ, whether you like it or not. I had to learn that. Ruth saw that in Naomi, and she said, I want that. I want to be part of that, what you have. So I'm going to be faithful. Didn't even know God, but she saw what God was doing and wanted to be a part of it. That's so important. All right, I'm going to read a little bit more of the story. Just bear with me. I'm going to read it, and then we'll stop a couple times. This is 2:9. And let me say this. Boaz was a man in the country, one of the richest men in the country, and he noticed Ruth. He noticed her devotion to her mother-in-law, and this is what he's saying to her. And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink. What the young men have drawn. Then she fell on their face, bowing onto the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your eyes that you should notice me, when I am a foreigner? And Boaz said to her, I have been made fully aware of all you've done for your mother-in-law since the death of her husband, and how you have left your father and mother in the land of the birth and have come to people unknown to you before. The Lord reward you for what you have done, and full reward be given you to the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Then she said, let me find favor in your sight, my Lord, for you have comforted me, have spoken to the heart of your maidservant. Though I am not as one of your maidservants, I'm not one of you. And when she got up to glean, Boaz ordered the young men, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. Back in those days, when you gleaned a field, that's the way they let the poor glean the corners of the field. Okay, if you had a crop, the poor could glean. So what he's saying is, Ruth, you can glean anywhere you want in my field. It's yours. And this is what I want you to get. This is verse 16. And let fall some handfuls for her on purpose, and let them lie there for her to glean, and do not rebuke her. What I want you to get from that is that Boaz gave Ruth favor because of her faithfulness. He gave Ruth favor because of her faithfulness. And he dropped handfuls in her life because of it. See, for me, I've seen God do that, where he'll drop a handful in my life and say, hey, Bryan, here, I'm with you. I have not left you. I am with you. I'll tell you, my little girl, Lily, 8 years old, and we have a swing on our back porch. This is one way God spoke to me and reminded me of the blessings in my life. And we're swinging. I'm reading a book, and I'm swinging, and she comes and sits beside me, puts her head on my shoulder, and she says, Daddy, I love you. I'm like, oh, yeah. I put the book down, put my arm around her, and I said, I love you too. And it's like a light bulb went off. God says, see what I'm talking about. There's blessings in your life that you may not know or you may not see. I encourage you to look around today. As you go home, as you go to work, wherever you may be, look around and see the blessings that God has for you. And I promise, if you will commit to be faithful, commit to have integrity, and commit to character, and do what God asks you to do, he will drop handfuls on you of his favor. I want you to stand with me. We're going to pray together. And before Spencer and them sing, I just want to say, today might be the day that you need to commit to what God's doing in your heart and your life. I know some of you, like I said earlier, you may be ready to quit. You may be done. But God wants you to stick it out. He wants you to stick with it. Don't give up. There's a plan, there's hope, there's a blessing waiting for you if you would stick it out. As they sing, I want you to just think about that. Think about, God, what can I do in my life? What is it in my life, that picture that you've shown me, that direction you want me to go? How can I be faithful to that? What can I do to be faithful in the little things? Help me know what you need me to do. We're going to sing together, and then we'll come back, and we're going to pray together for Florida and our friends, okay? Let's sing together.